Hello, my name's Ben,
And my name's Josh.
and welcome back to FPL Graduates. Welcome back to another video where today's video we're going to be looking ahead to Game Week 2 in this video titled Transfer Plans. We're going to be talking about all the assets that you should be looking to potentially sell and buy all in one video. So without further ado, let's get straight into it.
Okay, so to kick things off, we're going to talk about Alexander Isak. He's 52% owned at the moment. He was like the highest player owned pretty much at the start of the season. 2 game weeks have passed. He's got 1 assist against Southampton, and then obviously no returns against Bournemouth in that away fixture. And the fixtures going forward get a little bit tougher. I wouldn't say they're the end of the world for Newcastle, but obviously Tottenham at home this weekend. And then after the international break, they go away to Wolves and away to Fulham. So some decent fixtures, some okay fixtures. There's definitely better fixtures out there. For me, he could be leaving my team this week. And it's not a case that I don't think he's a good option, but I just think there could be better options on the horizon. What's your thoughts on him, Ben, at the moment?
Yeah, whilst I completely agree with the sentiment there of there being better options, I think getting rid of Isak is a really luxury transfer to be able to make at this point in the game. A lot of transfers will be revolving around unexpected player rotation, unexpected player injury. So I don't think if you've got Isak at the moment, you should necessarily be looking immediately, panicking, saying, I've got to sell him because he's got one attacking return in 2 games. The expected goal involvement hasn't been too great for Alexander Isak, hasn't been too great overall for Newcastle, but we saw significant improvements in that Bournemouth game, over 1.5 XG produced, which is not too bad at all. So we see those attacking stats looking really good. It's probably the Newcastle defenders that I'm more worried about owning if I did and sort of transferring out. I think that's probably more of a priority because the stats don't look great in that regard. But going forwards, with the first game being a red card, second game being a bit of a difficult one away to Bournemouth stylistically. So yeah, it's not a panic transfer out. It's one to monitor. And yeah, like I said, if he continues to sustain those numbers that he's producing at the moment, then there's going to be much better options at that same high price point. Okay, so moving on to a player. Despite what I was saying about the attacking numbers not looking too great, in terms of Murphy's attacking numbers here, they don't look great at all. 86 minutes played across 2 game weeks, albeit first game week got subbed off because of that red card. But in second game week, there was no excuses. He got subbed off early, 56, 57 minutes around about. So he hasn't really done much at all going forwards for Newcastle in those opening 2 games. Josh, is he more of an immediate sell in your opinion?
It's a tricky one, and I think it all comes down to your squad structure right now. So the only way that I would sell him now, because obviously he has dropped down to 5.4 million. If you haven't seen that already, is that if I didn't have a £5 million mid and say he was my lowest priced midfielder, I'd then drop him down to someone like a Morgan Rogers for their really nice fixture run coming up. But for him to be dropping down to 5.4, I think you could probably just wait on him and maybe, assess some other options elsewhere. But if he's the only player in your team that really needs transferring out, I think he's the obvious sell. Obviously, Ben mentioned he's only got 0.02 expected goal involvement in 86 minutes, which is pretty awful considering the fixtures that they had. Okay, the red card in the first game didn't help, but he was still on the pitch for a good 30 odd minutes. So I think, yeah, in terms of a punt, it didn't work out. Sometimes they don't. So yeah, definitely time to move on from Jacob Murphy. Okay, so moving on to another midfielder, we've got Christopher Nkunku from Chelsea, and now he has also dropped in price. Similar sort of theme with Jacob Murphy, only playing the 64 minutes so far. He has got better attacking numbers than Murphy, though, with 0.23 expected goal involvement so far this season. I said this in pre-season. I just think most, if not all, of the Chelsea attackers, barring Cole Palmer, you're going to see rotation throughout the whole of the season. Even like Noni Madueke, he scored a hat-trick at the weekend. I will almost certainly guarantee he'll be on the bench for at least one of their next 3 fixtures. It's just how it's going to work. They've got a plethora of options, which is not a bad thing from Chelsea's point of view. But for FPL managers, we love those talismanic figures who are going to get those minutes every week, penalties, etc., like that. And that's what Cole Palmer offers. And I think in this scenario, the 4 million is worth it. What's your thoughts on Nkunku, Ben? Is he sort of set you alight so far?
Yeah, no, it's a difficult one for owners because obviously that risk was there, and we saw that basically based on the whole of last season where he was injured. Always going to be a minute's risk. I think with managers, it's an assessment that you need to make after Thursday night when Chelsea play. You're going to get a good idea whether he gets that really tasty fixture at Palace at home and make that reassessment. If you've already got him and you've had that 0.1 price drop, you may be in a position where you just have to play him this week and see what happens. Yes, when he is on the pitch, he's producing goal involvements and opportunities there to produce. It's a difficult one. I'd probably say for now it's a tough hold, and it's going to be a really tough hold for owners. But he does have that sort of potential and the potential higher ceiling than someone like Jacob Murphy, who we'd recommend to sell there.
Yeah, definitely agree. And obviously, on Thursday last week, he did score. He won a penalty and scored the penalty. So there's definitely upside there. It's just whether we're going to see it in the Premier League with all these fixtures that Chelsea are going to have to play with the Conference League as well.
Okay, so next up, we've got a really interesting one. We've got Alejandro Garnacho. He is currently in my FPL team. At the time of recording, he is 6.5 million. By the time that this comes out, he will most definitely be at 6.4 million. For me personally, I'm not looking to sell this week. His expecting goal involvements have been fantastic, despite only playing 54 minutes so far this season. He's playing his way into that starting 11, in my opinion. Of course, he played over the international break, a bit of a late return, which meant that he didn't get that start in game weeks 1 and 2. He's played well enough to justify starting in that Manchester United team, got the 1 assist already, had 2 big chances, 1 in each game. So he has been unfortunate not to have scored just yet. Those returns are coming. Those minutes are also coming. Josh, am I being biased because he's in my team, or could he genuinely have a chance of starting next game week?
Yeah, I think you've been super unlucky considering he's been benched both times and literally had an open goal in both games as well that he somehow managed to miss. I think, yeah, like you say, the returns are definitely coming. I think this is similar to a lot of the United assets. If Garnacho puts that goal away and it doesn't hit Xerxes, I think that Brighton game looks a lot different. And obviously United maybe hold on to get a win there, even a point. So it's a big turning point in that game. And it's a big turning point for a lot of Man United FPL owners. You know, Bruno would have got an assist. Garnacho would have got a goal. I think, Bruno's already dropped to 8.4. Garnacho's due to drop probably this evening to 6.4. I don't think these guys would be dropping if that goal went in. So, swings and roundabouts, but I would definitely be holding. I think Liverpool at home is a great fixture for someone like Garnacho to be hitting them on the break. I don't think Liverpool's been tested too much so far this season defensively. And I think in parts, Ipswich did test them quite a bit in that first half. And we saw then Liverpool sort of get penned back in that first half. So I think Man United have a little bit to offer there. And then you've got that Southampton away fixture when you come back from the international break, which I'd expect him to probably start in. He's going to have to start soon because he's just much better than Marcus Rashford and Diallo at the moment. Moving on to the next player, and it's Bruno Fernandes. This is the Man United asset that I own in my team at the moment. So as I mentioned, he's down to 8.4 at the moment, but I think his expected goal involvement is even crazier to Garnacho's. He obviously had those 2 big chances against Fulham. He set up Garnacho for that open goal against Brighton. So how he hasn't returned is a bit mental with over 2 expected goal involvements already in 2 games. It's a similar story with Eze as well. Both these players have had ridiculous amounts of chances and opportunities. Just luck's not going their way right now. What's your thoughts on him, Ben? Obviously, you own Garnacho. £2 million price difference. Would you be keeping Bruno if you had him?
I genuinely would probably be keeping him at the moment. Like, the attacking returns are there and they're just not materialising. And we saw it in parts last season. And obviously we're seeing Manchester United sort of get potentially unlucky with some of the sort of goals that have been out. This happens in football and sort of the luck can swing both ways. So I anticipate that the luck may swing the other way over the next coming sort of couple of game weeks where they might get a goal that's a little bit undeserved and Bruno might get a return that's, again, a little bit undeserved. So I think it swings and roundabouts with FPL. A lot of managers ditching because of the 0 attacking returns so far, but the data is suggesting that attacking returns around the corner and he's going to have a very, very high ceiling as well. Okay, so next up, we've got a player who has unfortunately already been hit with an injury since joining Spurs. Dom Solanke played 90 minutes and a very promising 90 minutes in the opening game week against Leicester, where he accumulated 0.49 XGI, which is not too bad at all, with 1 big chance in there as well. At 7.5 million, we don't anticipate he's going to drop before the deadline. FPL seem to have price locked him due to the status change on the website itself. So we should be safe before this deadline hits. May not be the case post deadline. My thoughts are that you're probably looking at selling him based on the team news that we get from Ange Postecoglou pre-match. If it's looking like an injury that's going to take him out for numerous weeks, possibly sort of past sort of the next 2 or 3 weeks, then it's a probable sell. Even if he's out for 1 week, you could be forced to make your hand and make that change just based on the price tag, the fact he's up front, the fact that there are quite a few options. Josh, this is someone that you're potentially sort of looking at having to ship out, right?
Yeah, I had to ship him out last week because obviously the Everton fixture was the one that I was trying to hold him for. I think the next two, Newcastle's not a bad one, but Arsenal after that isn't ideal. And like we saw with that Everton fixture, Spurs ran right in that game, and I could only imagine what Solanke would have done in a fixture like that. So yeah, if you still own him and you haven't sold him already, I'd be leaning more towards keeping him just because his price is locked. Obviously, FPL changed it from red to orange, so that means he's not going to drop before it changes again, basically. And that means we'll have another update from Ange probably Friday as to see whether he'll play in Gameweek 3. He did mention he's got the international break to recover last Friday, so that makes me think he might miss Newcastle and be back for the North London derby in Game Week 4. So, yeah, it's an interesting one, but sort of owners have been saved a lot. He was about 30% owned pre-Game Week 2 deadline. He's now down to 14%, so we might have even seen maybe 2 price drops potentially just due to that injury. So, yeah, they've got away with one there, but for me, if you've got him still, I'd just hold him until Friday and get an update then. Okay, then, so moving on to a defender, and it's Lewis Hall. So he obviously started Game Week 1, got subbed off early and got a clean sheet. I must admit, in Game Week 1, his performance was not there. He gave away the ball quite a lot against Southampton when they were down to 10 men. He was benched against Bournemouth, came on, sadly for me and Ben, because we had some nice auto subs ready in the wings, and played all right, to be fair. Got a few minutes there. So for me, I probably would be looking towards selling him. He isn't anywhere really near a price drop just yet. I think you'll probably be able to get out of this week without him dropping down to 4.4 million. What's your thoughts on him, Ben? Obviously, you mentioned Newcastle defensively aren't looking too great to start this season, right?
Yeah, the defensive stats haven't looked good, albeit it's only a sort of small sample size that we've got in terms of the defensive output and the defensive sort of stability of Newcastle, but it's not looking too great at all. Lewis Hall, obviously a rotation risk. A lot of FPL managers, including myself, had him into team for Game Week 1 because we knew it was his place to lose, and he's almost lost it straight off the bat and is a rotation risk going forward. So I anticipate, based on Eddie Howe's comments, he's going to play different fullbacks based on opposition, which is always going to be dangerous for FPL managers. So it's a big steer clear for me in terms of the Newcastle defence now. I'll personally be looking to take him out this week and sort of not risk that price drop next week. I've got a transfer that I can use on this, and it's an easy move to make on a player that I don't have much faith will potentially start in game weeks 3, 4, and 5. And the fixtures, in terms of sort of a defensive standpoint, you're looking at it. Tottenham at home. Tottenham have produced a really high amount of XG over the first 2 game weeks. Wolves managed to accumulate over 2 XG against Chelsea, and then Fulham, who have looked fantastic in parts, mainly due to sort of the introduction of so many good signings like Smith Rowe, etc. So I'm going to probably look at selling Lewis Hall this week. Okay, and then finally, we're going to be looking at Ezri Konsa of West Ham. This, interestingly, is a player that I am looking to transfer in. Yes, over 2 games, they've conceded 3.53 expected goals, which is quite a lot. But when you break it down to those 2 game weeks, the majority of it was against West Ham in game week 1. And game week 2 against Arsenal, it looks much more short in defence, just 0.6 XG conceded against them. So it's not bad at all. The fixtures coming up for them look fantastic. So I'm very much interested in transferring in Konsa into my team. He's nailed on in that Villa side. Yes, there is a potential £4 million fullback coming in for the next month now Matty cashes out. But Konsa for me is probably one of my transfer targets going into this week. Josh, what do you make of Konsa? Is it worth the sort of 4.5 million to invest into that Aston Villa defence with those fixtures coming up?
Yeah, I'm a bit 50-50 on it because the main reason that I like them is obviously because of the fixtures, like you mentioned, and I don't think any other team in the league has this sort of run against pretty poor attacking opposition going forwards. Leicester barely created anything against Fulham at the weekend, only scoring from a set piece. Everton literally don't create any chances at all. So in those next two game weeks, you've got really, really good clean sheet opportunities. The thing is that Aston Villa, even historically, have not been a fantastic defence. Last season, they were conceding a lot of chances under Unai Emery, and it's just the way he plays. He likes playing with a high line, and they tend to get scored against quite a lot. So yeah, for me, I probably would go with him. I think it's an easy move in your scenario where it's like Lewis Hall to Konsa. But overall, I would not be shocked if they were to concede the odd goal to like a Jamie Vardy on the break or something like that. I think, yeah, like you mentioned, Nedeljkovic could be nice if you really wanted to go there, but it's just a matter of time before that becomes a transfer as well. So for safety, I would probably go with like Ezri Konsa, like you say. Okay, then, so that wraps up some transfer plans for Game Week 3. Let us know who we missed in the comments and any questions you have ahead of the Game Week 3 deadline.
Yeah, absolutely. We're certainly looking forward to that last game week before the international break. We can soak up all of that FPL information we've got to hopefully improve your teams going forward. And as always, I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
And we'll see you guys
next time. Have a good game week, everyone.
So you